Hey, what up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you. Tonight is going to be the Talk is Jericho on the WWE Network. They're continuing on their must-see television week with Jericho interviewing Stephanie McMahon. And this is going to be a big one. When it comes down to it, the WWE Network specials of the podcast, I know they've only done 3 of them so far, but they are one of my favorite things that they're able to put up on the network. Whoever thought about just, bringing these guys in, sitting them down, and filming them having a conversation was very, very good, because honestly, I think the podcasts are one of the things that make me glad that I'm a WWE Network subscriber. With Stone Cold Steve Austin, he was able to share stories and talk to Vince McMahon and Triple H about the past they had in the wrestling ring, with all the angles that they had done and all the matches that they had. They were able to talk about business, where WWE is, where WWE is going. Austin asked them about upcoming events like WrestleMania 31. And, everything that was going on. With Chris Jericho interviewing John Cena, it seemed like Jericho talked more about road stories and maybe more about stories that we hadn't heard, trying to peel back the skin and let the listeners see another side of John Cena, other than Super Cena that we see on Monday Night Raw every week. That's why I'm hoping for a different kind of interview with Stephanie McMahon tonight. Definitely you could sit down and talk to Stephanie about her character that we've seen in the WWE. She's been in WWE for years and years, debuting in the latter part of the 90s in the Attitude Era, coming in as the $1 Billion Princess. And I think that's one of the things that I really want to know about Stephanie is, as growing up in the McMahon family, was it just known that she was going to be involved in wrestling at what point? Or, at what point did Vince come to Stephanie, or did Stephanie come to Vince and ask to be a part of the show? The earliest things I can remember, of course, is Undertaker abducting Stephanie, putting her on the Undertaker symbol, aka the cross, and putting her up into the ceiling, as Undertaker was trying to marry Stephanie, and then Stone Cold Steve Austin came down and made the save, and everything that they came down with that historic night. But she was in the magazine as a kid, as a model, shilling the WWE merchandise, shirts and things like that. But there's so many things that Stephanie's done since then. You can think of her marrying Triple H on television, and then basically running the show with the early parts of the Authority, with the McMahon-Helmsley era, as basically Vince was so distraught over these two running the company that he just disappeared, and Stephanie and Triple H, ran the show. On the show, they ran the show about what was going down. From there, that turns into her and Triple H breaking up at WrestleMania 18. Her, joining up with her biggest on-screen rival, being Chris Jericho. And that ultimately was a major flop. I wonder if that's something that they're actually going to talk about, how these two that hated each other so much, but they hated Triple H at the same time, banded together. And I think that it'd be something that they touch on, but probably move on from pretty fast. WrestleMania 18, everybody always remembers Triple H versus The Rock. I apologize, I screwed that up. Everybody always remembers Hulk Hogan versus The Rock, and then Triple H and Chris Jericho, even though it was for the championship going on in the main event slot, and everybody being burnt out from that Hogan and Rock match, and just not really getting any kind of thing from there. From there, Stephanie bought in to the ECW invasion, being the leader of ECW, kind of another thing that was looked at as a flop. I know that they had to sell the fact that the McMahons owned ECW. Paul Heyman was a part. He was he was a mouthpiece for the invasion, definitely, but he was an afterthought. He was more of the announcer, but he would get into the ring. But they put where Vince had, he was in control of WWE, but Shane was bringing in WCW. At the same time, they had so many wrestlers from ECW that they brought in the ECW name to try and get that over and bring it more. And then in the same night that you debut the ECW brand, with Paul Heyman bringing in Rob Van Dam and Tommy Dreamer, and then you also have the big turn of Taz, the Dudleys, just you have them join WCW, and it's like you have this big group that you just got over and got a huge response from people, and then Stephanie comes out and says, "Yeah, they're with me," and that sort of sucked. She was the GM of SmackDown as a babyface. I can't remember what years those were, but then after that was done, I mean, she ran the back. She's been a big member of WWE Creative, where I believe like all the scripts basically go through her, and that's mainly her biggest job in WWE. And how do you get promoted to that, and how hard do you have to work to actually gain the respect of the writers that are there? Do people think of her as she's just there because of her last name and who her dad is, and or is it something that she had to really work hard to get Vince's respect, and Vince says that she actually knows what she's doing? I know at the end of the day, if Stephanie okays an idea and it gets greenlit, and then at the last minute Vince looks over it and he scratches it out with his red pen and says, "Oh no, we're not doing that." How hard is the rejection? Because it's her father basically telling her that she didn't do a good job, it's not going to work, and that he has the overall thing. I know that Triple H said that he goes to battle with Vince almost on a daily battle about things, but at the end of the day, it's Vince McMahon signing the name on the checks. It's his building, it's his trucks, it's his camera equipment. If that's the way he wants to play in his yard, that's the way he's going to play, and he has to go along with it. And then, of course, Stephanie making her return to television with the Authority, something that honestly I kept on reading that was never going to happen. They always put it off as Stephanie didn't like the way that she looked on camera after having kids, and she didn't have it. But when she came back, I think a lot of people think that Stephanie McMahon has one of the world's most perfect bodies. She's one of the best looking chicks that they have, even with all those divas running around. Steph is best for business. In this last year, she's really stepped it up a lot, like with Vince McMahon. He would take and take and take from Stone Cold Steve Austin, but he knew at the right moment when it was time to give back, Vince would take his licks. And this year at, I guess it's not this year, but last year at SummerSlam, you had Stephanie McMahon wrestling, and what I thought was basically one of the matches that I cared the most about. I know that Brock Lesnar and John Cena honestly did deserve to be in the main event, but when it came down to it, the match that I cared the most about at SummerSlam this year was Stephanie McMahon wrestling against Brie. And I know at one point Stephanie was in the ring and she won. She was the Divas champion back in the Attitude Era with DX, and every once in a while she had to have a real match that she would screw job her way into winning and keeping the championship for a long time. But in that match, she really did have to get in shape. She really did have to wrestle against Brie, and then it all came down to the Nikki Bella heel turn at the end for Stephanie McMahon to get the win, and then they'd go on to doing the Bellas. Which didn't really work out. It was more about Total Divas more than anything else. But Steph did have to get in the ring. She didn't embarrass herself. I think at the end, it was a big success. And running with the attitude, running with the Authority. There's a lot of things going down, but there is a lot of questions. There is a lot of things about Stephanie McMahon. I know that she does do a lot of interviews and she does plug a lot of things, but she always sort of gives these basically typed out answers. Like when somebody asks you this is what you're going to say. And it's just a big corporate, gung-ho thing. And just like when John Cena does a lot of interviews, when he's on like Good Day or Good Morning Sacramento or the Today Show, it's basically always the same thing. Like WWE puts on a good show, we're going to go out and we're going to get them. We're going to make sure that when we're there, you get your money's worth. And we're the best value in sports entertainment. And we're the best thing going. With Chris Jericho, John Cena really didn't give those kind of responses because he is a friend, he is trusted, and it was somebody that he believed he could peel back that skin with. Stephanie and Jericho, they go way back. I know that this is a WWE Network thing, this is a Podcast One thing, but maybe there will be that familiarity between Stephanie and Chris. That they will be able to get past all that, and Stephanie will be able to really show that true side to her. I know that she has a lot of side projects in WWE with the WWE Moms, where there's a lot of kids out there that watch WWE, And Stephanie has a program for them to try and get involved with the show and try and have something for them, because they're taking their kids to these shows. It costs money, and I'm sure they don't want these moms just bored out of their minds. If my kids loved wrestling, it'd be no problem. I'd just bring them along with me for the ride. But I'm sure that when I gave tickets to my cousin Michael when I won that WWE thing in Sacramento, I'm pretty sure that Michael's mom was excited that Michael got to go to his live wrestling show for the first time, but I really don't think she knew what the hell was going on. So that's good that they have those sort of programs and those sort of things set up. She's also really big with the Komen Breast Foundation. It's one of the reasons why they do the big October. She's always a part of the walks and everything like that. And I don't know. I think there's also questions about what I would like to know about Stephanie McMahon's free time, how her and Triple H are able to have a life with the schedules that they keep, being involved in WWE, being the people who are going to be taking over when Vince finally does tap out someday and say that he is done and he's moving on to the next portion of his life. We always see pictures of Triple H and Stephanie, training in the basement of their house, where it's like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning. Then they're up in the morning, training again at like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. They don't stop. They always have meetings going on. They always have business. They're hopping on a jet. They're flying here, there, and everywhere. As of right now, Stephanie is a part of a big program. She must have just gotten back. That was going on in Europe, where she was, stepping up for WWE to take in the next portion of her thing. So we'll see what's going on. It's definitely going to be a good one tonight, and I can't wait for it. Jericho and Stephanie, WWE Network.